Hello and welcome to video number 5 for the Arabian VACC S2 Tier 1 endorsement. We were talking about Separation 101, and yep, again, as ever, my name is Shazin. We will continue with this little story of establishing the minimas for separation. We talked about IFR separation, we talked about wake separation. So if you haven't checked these out already, again, start from, I believe it was video number 3. It'll be linked below. So, okay. So based off of what we've learned, again, oh, sorry, wrong color. What color was this? Nope, that's not the right color. There we go, okay. Okay, so based off of what we've learned, if you have two aircraft that are on the same SID, they need to be separated by 2 minutes. But then on top of that, if there is a difference in wake, if this guy's heavier, then that separation takes over, and you have to apply this little chart right here. So it's no longer going to be 2 minutes, it's going to be whatever the categories are. If not, if the aircraft ahead is smaller, if the aircraft ahead is the same size, then, well, you're back to your normal IFR separation, which again, if you remember, applies if you follow the same prescribed track that you use instruments to navigate. So IFR separation. But what if this guy, as it turns out, is actually not on the same SID to begin with? So let's give this guy a color now. Let's give this whole thing a color. Let's give this guy blue. Okay. So blue departed on a blue SID. Again, yeah, I'm not really giving names or anything. If you want to be more specific, let's say blue departed on the RIDAP 2 Foxtrot departure, or RIDAP 3 Golf in this case, that's the 1, 2, here we go. Blue departed the RIDAP 2 Foxtrot departure, denoted in blue. So RIDAP 2 Foxtrot. And red is actually going somewhere else. Red is going to the Senpa 2 Foxtrot. Senpa 2 Foxtrot departure. And again, there is no wake separation required. As you can see here, you can have these scenarios or these cases where if it's a super following a super, if it's an aircraft following its own wake category, you don't need wake turbulence separation, right? So what then? And in this case, again, like I said, they're on different prescribed tracks. They're not on the same prescribed track. They're on different SIDs. RIDAP 2 Foxtrot, Senpa 2 Foxtrot. What do you do here? Where do you separate them? Turns out you separate them on the runway, as it turns out. So let's just bring this back a bit. Here's your story. That is a very wonky line. I will draw that again from scratch. Okay. So let's say red is all ready to go, lined up, ready for a takeoff clearance, and who are we dealing with? It was blue, wasn't it? Okay, so blue, let's group these guys, is actually airborne. It might not look like it here, but just kind of bear with me. Let's say he's actually airborne. He rotated pretty early off the runway. So he's rotated pretty early, let's just say. He's climbing, and he's heading off to a place that is different from where red wants to go. And they're not, you know, a problem in terms of wake separation. So this is good, right? We don't have to apply any separation. Right? Well, no, not so fast. Because it turns out there's something called runway separation minima, which is our last kind of separation that will apply here. Sorry, let me correct myself. That's the second to last type of separation will apply. Runway separation minima. Actually, I should put this here and make it. Let's do. Can I do? Let's do. I already did that color. Let's do a light red. And here I'll write it based off of. So we're separating now based off of the runway. The runway. Because, as it turns out, again, if you remember, it's per your foundations. The Manual for Air Traffic Services, derived from ICAO Pen's ATM document 4444, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Red here, he cannot receive a takeoff clearance until and unless this little guy has completely passed the opposite end of the runway's threshold. So the runway's threshold, somewhere here, he has to be completely clear of it. Even though he got airborne way before, he needs to clear this bit. Only now can you give this guy a clearance. Okay. Okay, well, what about the, oh, sorry. The equivalent of that on the arrival side. What do you do here? Well, think about landing traffic. So let's bring that forwards a bit. And when an aircraft lands, well, they need to vacate, right? And let's draw some taxiways. A very simple taxiway here. Something like this. And a stop bar. A little bar that tells them where the runway itself, the holding point, right? The holding point stop bar. After an aircraft lands, you can see he's landed, you can see he's slowed down, you can see he's started to turn. And you can see, okay, well, he just needs to do this, or even this, and I can see that he's already here. He's going to do it. Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, my friend. You cannot give a guy on final. So if you've got somebody here on final, coming down for an approach, he cannot get a landing clearance until this guy is completely past the stop bar. So he needs to be completely past it. Only now can you give this guy a landing clearance. Okay, fair enough. So, to review, runway separation minima for departures, you cannot give a successive takeoff clearance unless they have completely crossed the opposite end of the threshold. As for arrivals, you cannot give a successive landing clearance until they have completely vacated the runway and passed the stop bar completely. So there's your runway separation minima. And there is separation 101. Asterisk, because we have a fourth one, and I'll make this one really short. God, that's the wrong pen. I don't know why I always choose that one. There we go. This is the one I need. Flow control. Flow. I'll just call it flow. This is something that you see in some airports where, so you remember the same SID situation? Well, something similar to that, except it's now aircraft flying to the same FIR exit. So the information region, so the UAE FIR, if they're both flying to a certain FIR, they need to be spaced out a certain amount. As it turns out, if we look at the manual for this, so if we just come down here, and then come down to, let's see here. Or if you want, if you're lazy like me, you could just flow. There we go. So you can see this little table right here. Special flow control procedures are required for traffic entering the Muscat FIR by certain entry points after departure from UAE. As it turns out, if it's 2 aircraft on the ANVIX SID or the Ivuro SID, so as you see here, the ANVIX 7 Foxtrot or the Ivuro Foxtrot, or even the Golfs for that matter, They need 3 minutes of separation. So, depending on the SID. And the reason I kind of added this as an asterisk is because it's kind of airport specific, as you can see. Up until this point, all of this, what you see here, applies pretty much universally to all airports in Arabian VACC. All airports in the Arabian VACC. Whereas this one is kind of unique to Dubai. 3 minutes, and there's really not an arrivals equivalent, so yeah. So to review, that's your separation. It's a matter of knowing what to do, and you got some stuff to read, which again, all of it can be found in your foundations. So if we go back to foundations here, there you go, wake turbulence separation. If you come down to, first of all, you can look at the categories. So you can see the timings here. And then you have some more information on how you apply them. It goes into it a little bit more detail here. So time-based separation, when you can apply it, distance-based separation, when you can apply that, the technique to time it, the technique, just go through this. As I said from the beginning of the series, use this as a supplement to your reading and your self-studying. So there you go, Separation 101.